and welcome to my channel. I'm Colleen Pearl, the Cool Crone, and today we will be discussing the full moon in Cancer for December 2023. To get a reading with me, go to thecoolcrone.com, click on Book Now, and make your appointment. The full moon in Cancer will occur at 7:33 p.m. Eastern Time at 4 degrees Cancer, 58 minutes, December 26th. Now, this full moon has many pleasant aspects, which I will discuss in detail, but first, can we recognize that this is the second full moon in Cancer we're having this year? We began the year with a full moon in Cancer on January 6th, and here we are ending it with another one just before the end of December. How lucky are we? The moon is the ruler of Cancer, and this sign brings out the best of the moon's qualities. However, this does mean that we will not be having a full moon in Cancer at all in 2024. Only a new moon in Cancer, which will occur in July. So, sorry Cancerians, enjoy this one while you can. In general, this moon will be quite good for people working together. So whether this means taking down the Christmas lights or filling in for someone on vacation at work, you'll find that you have the stamina, concentration, and willingness to pitch in and really make a difference. While this may not sound terribly exciting for your holidays, it is needed. And later, after New Year's has passed, you'll realize that it was a blessing to get these things done. The sign of Cancer is feminine, it's a water sign, it's cardinal, and it's ruled by the moon. Now, what does all that mean? Well, as a female sign, it tends to allow those natives who have this sign as their sun sign to be in touch with their female qualities. Now, this doesn't mean female in terms of woman versus man. This means their inner intuition, their knowing, the part of them that is submissive, the part of them that is intuitive, the part of them that allows themselves to be supportive in terms of dealing with children or even partners. It's also a water sign. Water signs tend to be extremely intuitive, psychic, generally understand that they should go with their gut. Also, they understand other humans because our bodies are made up of so much water. So the water signs have a tendency to be able to really read themselves and other people very, very well. This means that most people with Cancer predominant in their chart do know themselves very well, but they also know other people, especially those that they love and who are close to them. Cancer is also a cardinal sign. This means it's one of 4 signs that begin the 4 seasons. Now, not everywhere on the planet experiences 4 seasons, but most places in the northern or southern hemisphere do experience 4 seasons: summer, winter, fall, and spring. Countries that are around the equator usually experience 3 seasons and sometimes only 2. But if you're in the general vicinity above the equator in the northern or below the equator in the southern hemispheres, you will experience 4 seasons. So the 4 cardinal signs, Aries, Cancer, Libra, and Capricorn, indicate when the sun hits 0 degrees of those signs that the season is at its high point. So 0 degrees of Cancer is midsummer. It's not the first day of summer. It's the height of summer. 0 degrees of Libra is the equinox, and that is the midpoint for the autumn or rainy season in most areas of the world. When the sun hits 0 degrees of Capricorn, that's midwinter. That means that winter has already begun and it is the height of winter. So 0 degrees of any of the cardinal signs will begin a season, and it's the beginning to our eyes, but know that the earth has already been in that season, and it is actually the height of that season, which is most notable for summer and winter. Cancer is ruled by the moon. That's the so-called planet that rules this sign. And the moon is a very apropos body to rule Cancer because the moon rules water, which Cancer is a water sign. It rules the tides, and Cancer, the crab, is usually seen on beaches where we see tides. The moon is also an intuitive planet. It indicates a lot of psychic abilities, and it can also hide things. These are all traits of the sign Cancer. Now, what does it mean to have your moon in Cancer? Well, Cancers are traditionally pretty moody, very sensitive, very nurturing. They have great memories and they're quite intuitive. The full moon in Cancer finds our emotions at a 10, and we want to cook and feed and eat comfort food with our families in our homes. We may become needy and over-emotional about simple things, but if you spend time in your home, you will be happiest surrounded by your family. Now, if that's not possible, try doing a small home project by yourself and improve your domestic setting in some way. Cancer is a cardinal sign, so it's good at starting things. It's also a very private sign, so they like to keep their secrets or at least spend a fair amount of time alone or with a few trusted family members. Cancers are vulnerable, they're easily hurt and sensitive. They need their homes to be safe, a place where they can retreat from the cold, hard, cruel world. For Cancer, the easiest way to say I love you is with food, and by tending to creature comforts, such as a warm place to sleep, a protected space, a kind word, etc. But Cancer can also become quite needy and dependent, and very often they like to have someone they can depend upon to make them feel secure. And since this sign rules the home, that safe person very often is someone in their family or a spouse. Cancers are intuitive, and they trust their hunches 100% of the time. Now, the full moon is a time for things to be at a peak of energy. So if you have already put something in motion, either at the previous new moon or even the full moon before, you will find that the energy for that intention has reached a culmination point. You will see that the energy has built up to where this thing that you are trying to bring into being is actually starting to come into being. Because the moon is across from the sun, we also have a proliferation of yin and yang energy. Yin energy is feminine energy, yang energy is masculine energy. And don't get that confused with male and female as in man and woman energy. It's the feminine energy, meaning the more submissive, the more intuitive, the more hidden, the more behind the scenes energy. The yang energy is the more out there, the more aggressive energy, the more physical energy, not so intuitive, but more logical energy. Now, having these two energies work across from one another, not necessarily at cross purposes, but you do have the sun sending its beams over to the moon and the moon reflecting those beams back to the sun. Now, this allows us on a mental and psychic and emotional level to bring unresolved issues to the surface and to be able to recognize them. And that's the first step in curing something that you're uncomfortable with. So literally, the sun at the time of the full moon shines a light on the darkness, which is the moon. The moon goes through many phases. The full moon is just one, and that's when you see the most light showing on the moon, because the most of the moon's surface is directly across and facing the sun, so it can pick up the most light when it's at its full phase. But the rest of the time, the phases of the moon show either increasing or decreasing darkness around the moon. And that's why we talk about the moon hiding things. So having the sun shine a light on the darkness of things within your psyche is going to come to a peak at the time of the full moon. This is also a great time to work on releasing negative thoughts and negative patterns, such as guilt, fear, jealousy, and disappointment. Now, I want to give you some time to think about how to get the most out of this video. So, for those of you who have astrological points in the cardinal signs, anywhere from 1 to 10 degrees, you're going to feel this moon intensely and you may be challenged by it. For those lucky individuals with planets or points in Scorpio or Pisces, you may feel blessed by this moon. Anyone who has personal planets in Cancer in these degrees may be particularly challenged by this full moon, and in fact, each year you may dread this moon due to its powerful effect upon you. All right, let's take a look at the charts of the full moon that we're going to talk about. So here is the chart of the full moon, and as you can see, the moon and the sun are both at 4 degrees 58 minutes, but the sun is in Capricorn, the moon is in Cancer. And in this chart, you'll see that there's quite a few areas of the chart where there's few or no planets at all. So does this mean that people who have, say, Leo as their sun sign or rising sign have no interaction with this full moon at all? Not at all, because everybody has every sign in their chart. Every planet is represented in their chart. They just may not have planets in every sign, but the signs are there, covering houses, even if there's no planets there. And in those cases, we look at the rulership of those signs and where their ruling planet falls in their chart. Anyway, that's a little bit of an astrology lesson there. And let's take a look at this full moon chart. So we have the moon very close, but not quite conjunct with Vesta. Let's see, 28 Gemini. Yeah, it's a little far away from Vesta, but I guess we could call it conjunct. And then we have the sun, definitely not conjunct with anything. But we do have Mercury and Mars that look like they're conjunct. We have some aspects between Neptune and Venus, a nice trine. We also have the square of Mercury and Neptune and Mars to Neptune. So this tells me that, either Mercury and Mars are conjunct, or maybe there was a T-square going on there, but they're conjunct. So here's that square. And we have the sun and the moon trining Jupiter and Saturn respectively. So we have the sun trining Jupiter up here in Taurus, and we have the moon sextile Jupiter. And then we have the reverse is true of how they relate to Saturn. The moon is trining Saturn and the sun is sextile Saturn. So what does this mean? It means the energy for both Jupiter and Saturn is very harmonious with this moon and makes it a little more important, a little stronger. So we're going to have something having to do, I would say, between Jupiter and Saturn, you definitely are bringing in the courts and government. And so this full moon could very well be a time where you have some important decisions handed down from the courts, maybe even the Supreme Court. You could also have some big decisive actions happening from the government, and that could be Congress. And the sun and the moon could be revealing information about people in Congress or revealing information about people in the courts. So that could happen too, because it is the sun and the moon in opposition, and that's an aspect that reveals things. Let's see, what else do we have here? We have Mercury trining the node and Mars trining the node. So there's something about a little destiny here with the Mercury and Mars trining the node. So here's the node up here, and Mercury and Mars are conjunct down here. So we can get into all of these specifics, but this is going to be a pretty strong moon. It's not going to be strong in terms of, I don't feel that there's any big violence or difficulty that way. Mars is square Neptune. That can be troubling. That can mean some difficulties for existing military events that are going on, like Ukraine and Israel. But we'll just have to stand by there. Usually Neptune is involved with the entrance into a military event. And with Neptune squaring Mercury, which is conjunct Mars, that's an indicator of some, like a big incursion of troops, or a big change to troops, or um, an attack of some kind, but one that is planned. It's not like a bombing or something like that. This is more troops um, actually invading into a country. Okay, and we'll get into the aspects to this full moon in more detail in a little bit. Let's look now at the way the full moon hits the United States. So on the interior ring, we have the United States planets for July 4th, 1776. And in this middle ring, we have the planets for the full moon overlaid, so that we see the rising sign for the United States as Sagittarius. So everything's laying on top of that chart. So with this chart, we don't get a nice planetary grid. We just have to look at the planets and figure out what the aspects are. Here is our full moon. Here is the sun across from the moon. And the moon of this full moon is sitting right on top of the Venus and Jupiter for this country. So there is going to be some sort of an issue with legal things having to do with women. And also Aries is very close to the sun. So let's make that angry women. So these are women who are not taking it anymore. Women who are looking at the way the laws have been written in this country and saying, enough, this is not right. So we could very well, again, for this full moon, have some sort of major legislation or court opinions coming down, and that would very strongly affect women coming from the courts. Surrounding this, we actually have the node from the full moon hitting Chiron, and the Chiron from the full moon coming very close to the Chiron of the United States, indicating that this could be a predestined moment, and it might happen a little bit after the full moon. Is this retrograde, this Chiron? Yes, it usually is, and our Chiron is not. But so the Chiron is kind of moving along with the node, which will be moving retrograde. So prior to the full moon, we may see a moment of great healing take place for our nation. And Aries is close by. So I'm going to say that this moment of great healing for the nation at the time of the full moon, which is literally the day after Christmas, is going to involve some kind of leader making a speech or some sort of an event that is very good for women and very good to help calm down how angry women have become over the state of affairs in the United States. Saturn will be sitting just past the natal moon and Pallas Athena of the United States. So again, an involvement for the courts subjugating women. So again, the theme here is that women have been subjugated and oppressed, and we want to lift that very, very much. Anyway, the feeling of the country is that we want to lift it. Whether this full moon actually gets it lifted or not, it is a step in the right direction, I believe. Then we have the Sun, Mars, and Mercury, along with Ceres, an asteroid, in the first house of the United States. So we may be reaffirming our identity to the world and trying to show the world which way to go. Let's hope we're showing them the right way. Let's hope we're showing the world that we are for women, not against women, that we're not going to oppress women any longer. And I love this up here, our Neptune, which has been so tortured for the last year and a half with, well, maybe 2.5 years, with our transiting Neptune coming right across from it, almost like a Neptune return, except that it's 180 degrees away. But now we have the asteroid Juno right on top of Neptune. What does this mean? Juno represents your perfect partner, the partner that you love, that you idealize, that you really want to be with. And Neptune can very often idealize other things in our lives. In this case, the Neptune for the United States is in the ninth house. So Neptune for the United States is the idealized image that we project to foreign countries, which is very true. When you go outside the United States, you hear these glowing and gushing descriptions of how wonderful this country is. And it is a wonderful country. Don't get me wrong. I've traveled quite a bit, and I would not choose to live in any other country upon this planet. But with Juno here, it shows that we are coming to our perfect partner. Now, is our perfect partner someone like the UK or Canada, some of our traditional allies, Australia even, or is it somebody unusual like Ukraine, where they have such a strong leader? I think it would be something like that. Anyway, so it's probably also going to involve women because the United States chart feels very masculine. And so our partner would feel much more feminine. But anyway, that's up there. And let's see, what else do we have? The Venus in the 12th house. Again, women being subjugated and pushed into the corner, pushed into the background. And all of this noise coming out with the full moon is saying that we want women to have more visibility, more rights, the right to autonomy about their bodies, but also the right to autonomy about their lives in general. So just a few things about the United States with the full moon. I think it is going to be a moment in the United States where we really have to sit up and take notice. I don't think there's any getting around that. And now let's go to our president with the full moon. And here again is not the United States, I'm sorry. Here is Joe Biden's chart in the blue planets and the full moon planets in the red. And you have with Joe Biden, he has a lot of 12th house activity. And with the full moon Venus sitting on top of his Venus and Sun, and actually his Mercury too, this is going to be a very, very happy, pleasant full moon for him. We have the full moon planets of Mercury and Mars and the Sun and the asteroid Ceres all falling in his first house. But look at that Sun right on the cusp of his second house. So there is some kind of boon, accolade, reward, honor that is coming to our president at the time of the full moon around Christmas. Now, what else do we have connecting here? That's really the biggest connection there. Juno is going right to his midheaven. So this is something that, is going to affect Joe Biden a great deal. So he will probably effectuate whatever sort of deal or negotiation there is with our perfect partner. And I just can't imagine that he wouldn't be a part of all of this. Here is the actual full moon right here in Taurus and Scorpio. And this is going to be at 4 degrees. So this is going to make a trine to Jupiter, which is beautiful, and a sextile to Jupiter. Just beautiful, beautiful. So there is so much that is going on in this full moon. It's really gets a little complicated trying to figure out all the ways that Joe Biden is going to benefit from this, but he's definitely going to benefit from this full moon. All right, so let's go back to the chart of the full moon, and now let me take you through the important aspects and how they're going to work. And on the full moon, we will have Mercury at 25 degrees Capricorn 18. Jupiter will be at 5 degrees Taurus 36. And Uranus will be at 19 degrees Taurus 30. And now let's look at all the major aspects affecting the full moon in Cancer. And as I go through these aspects, I want you to pay attention to the degrees that I mention about each planet. If you have a copy of your chart, make a note about each planet that coincides with that degree. Some of them may be in harmonious signs and some may be in a challenging sign for you. Look in the description box of this video where I've listed the signs in two ways. One list of the signs shows which ones share elements, fire, water, earth, or air, and the other list shows which signs share qualities, which are cardinal, mutable, and fixed. The aspects with planets that share an element will be harmonious, and those that share qualities will be challenging. And if they share the same sign, depending upon the planets involved, the energy may be too much for you and you'll feel very challenged with that aspect also. So let's move on to the planetary aspects for this full moon in Cancer. And the first aspect that we have coming up is the Sun trine Jupiter. And in this beautiful picture, we have Jupiter and four of its largest moons, Callisto, which is up here, Io, Europa, and Ganymede. Now, according to NASA, by most counts, Jupiter has between 80 and 95 moons, but neither number captures the complexity of the Jovian system of moons, rings, and asteroids. The giant planet commands thousands of small objects in its orbit. For those of you connected to this aspect, you will feel extremely strong and confident now. Also, travel may beckon and will include adventures. I see you planning a safari for parts unknown. But if you can't actually leave town, spend some time studying a new topic so that you're still gaining new experiences. And then we have the Sun sextile Saturn. The Sun will be, oh, I forgot to give you the degrees for Jupiter. Jupiter will be at 5 degrees Taurus, 36 minutes retrograde, and the Sun is at 5 degrees Capricorn, 27. So this one is Sun sextile Saturn. I just gave you the Sun's position. Saturn's is at 2 degrees Pisces, 51. Now, you may not be working today, but if you are, you will have the ability to work very hard and to even take on extra responsibility. So if your coworkers are out on holiday, you're happy to fill in. Just don't start feeling sorry for yourself as being the person with nowhere to go and no social events to attend. You'll be there next time. And then we come to the Moon sextile Jupiter, and I've taken this opportunity to also show you the rings of Jupiter, and it shows you a couple of the things that are orbiting around the giant gas planet. The Moon will be obviously at 4 degrees Cancer, 57, and Jupiter will still be at 5 degrees Taurus, 36 retrograde. So if you're sensitive to this one, you will feel very optimistic and charitable today. This will help you attract other people who are likewise in an upbeat mood. This is an excellent day to enjoy with people in your own home. Also an excellent day for students and winning legal disputes. Next, we have Mercury conjunct Mars. Mercury is at 24 degrees Sag, 50 minutes retrograde, and Mars is at 23 degrees Sag, 58. Put your brain to work doing a challenging puzzle or crossword. Enjoy the humor of the day, and try not to be too impatient with those around you. They may not be thinking as quickly as you are. Avoid arguments and try to focus on more mental stimulation. And we also have Mercury squaring Neptune again. So we had Mercury squaring Neptune earlier in the month, but during this full moon where we have Mercury at 26 Sag 26 and Neptune at 24 Pisces 59, we get to experience the wild Sagittarian Mercury and the compassionate, reclusive Neptune in Pisces at square angles to each other. This may cause dreams to be a little too wild or too fantastic, to the point that they do not make sense. We may feel pulled into an unreal world and wonder why everyone does not see the things the way that we do. Thinking may be chaotic, making it difficult to explain oneself to others. It's best to use this influence for creativity. Throw paint at the wall rather than getting into arguments that will have no resolution. You may feel much differently in a few days. And then we have Venus squaring Saturn. Venus at 27 degrees Scorpio, 9 minutes. Saturn at 2 degrees Pisces, 51 minutes. Work will seem effortless today. while you take on burdens of responsibility. You may feel some fear of losing your job or reputation, but remind yourself that you're able to help people and allow this to bolster your spirits. You have a lot of valuable qualities, and today they will shine if you will let them. We also have Venus trining Neptune. Neptune's at 25 degrees Pisces exactly. Romance, compassion, and intuition surround this aspect. You may be very creative now and inspired to paint or make a mural or compose a symphony. Whatever you create is sure to be tremendously appealing. You will probably infuse your creation with elements of mysticism and magic, which will be very attractive to women. So if you're in the market, great. Your creative expression will show your inner feminine side and the intimate side that is usually hidden. And then we have Venus sextile Pluto. Venus at 27 degrees Scorpio 9 still, and Pluto at 29 degrees Capricorn 13. Pluto intensifies the power of Venus so that you experience love more deeply. With Venus already in the sign of Scorpio, this can be very, very intense. So if you're a person connecting with Venus, be careful not to overwhelm your partner or whoever is getting your attention. This aspect can be a great time to seek publicity and make contacts. So open up that new TikTok account and go nuts. And then we have Mars squaring Neptune. Mars at 23 Sag 58 and Neptune at 25 Pisces exactly. This aspect is usually quite chaotic, but if you can harness the energy into something mystical, spiritual, or fantastic, you may create something amazing. While you will have a need for a practical application of the inspiration you feel, if you can slow down your breathing and apply things one at a time, you may have good results. We also have Jupiter sextile Saturn. Jupiter at 5 degrees Taurus, 36 minutes retrograde, and Saturn at 2 degrees Pisces, 51. People will work together easily today with a very positive vibe. This aspect allows one to build strong relationships that are equal and balanced, allowing one to become more confident. And then Jupiter will also square Pluto. I'm sorry, I don't have a picture for this one, but Jupiter is at 5 degrees Taurus, 36 retrograde. Pluto's at 29 Capricorn 13, and you may feel stubborn and want to dig in your heels, but exercise some self-awareness and realize that others have their opinion too. Instead, focus on the future and how the world might change for the better if you put your efforts towards tolerance and acceptance of mankind, of humankind. You may experience some confusion, but that is just your values changing internally. I'm not saying this is easy to do. I'm saying if you give in to the impulse brought up by this aspect, you won't be happy and you won't progress society. And now we're going to go on to predictions for all the signs. Okay, so the first sign that we're going to do for our predictions is Aries. All right, Aries, so the moon will be in your 4th house. The sun will be in your 10th house. Moon in the 4th house means that something's going to be changing and your feeling of safety around the home could be affected during this full moon, especially given all the other planetary configurations we're experiencing. Having the sun in your 10th house, you may be really focusing on your career, or your career may be focusing on you and giving you rewards or a lot more work right at this time, making you have to choose between balancing the security and safety of your home or the changeability of your domestic situation with your career. I would suggest that you try to attend to your home life first. The moon is your security, it's your feeling of safety, and when it's falling in the 4th house, it's affecting the people that you love the most, your family and the people you live with. So make sure you attend to the things at home. It can also mean with the moon in the 4th house that things are changing in your domestic situation. So there could be changes there that are making you feel a little insecure just because they're different and new. Very often when we have the moon going through the fourth house, we may find that we increase the number of family members that are living with us, or somebody who is a non-family member may come to live with us, or someone may leave. They may move out in the case of, say, like a child going off to college or something like that. So you want to look at your domestic situation and make sure that you assess the security there. Make sure that everybody is getting their needs met. And you also will not have to really worry about your career. Having the sun in the 10th house doesn't mean that you necessarily have to do things, but you can capitalize on things concerning your career when the sun is in the 10th house. All right, moving on to Taurus. Taurus, the moon will be in your third house for neighbors, siblings, your day-to-day activities, and the sun will be in your ninth house for areas of growth and learning having to do with the bigger, larger world. So, Taurus, at this time with this full moon, you may be looking at things that you grew up believing or were taught as a child and challenging those concepts, challenging those ideas. Very often when people have an emphasis on the third to the ninth house, they're looking at different religions that are not the ones that they were taught when they were young. The third house emphasis is also a good time to be concerned with your children's education and things going on in your neighborhood and community. So you want to look at your immediate surroundings and see if there are things going on there that you should be involved with or that you care about or that have already changed and maybe you don't know about them and you want to be informed about them. The sun in the ninth house very often will mean if you're trying to publish a book or something, it will happen when the sun transits your ninth house. The ninth house also governs things having to do with the internet and outer space and foreign cultures in general. So if you are planning a trip, this is the time to do it. On to Gemini. Gemini, this puts the moon in your second house and the sun in your eighth house. So this will put an emphasis on other people's money and your money. So the moon very often will indicate where we're feeling a little insecure. So you may be feeling a little insecure about your own income, and then that bleeds over into the income that or the monies that you share jointly with a spouse or other kind of partner, say like a business partner. So you want to be looking at your modes of income, perhaps because it is Gemini in your second house, you already have multiple modes of income or streams of income. And you may feel like, you want to drop one of them because moon always indicates changes, or you may want to add a new one, or you may want to consolidate things, join two of those streams of income into one business, etc. And this will have an effect on you and your partners, say like life insurance or your retirement plan or a loan that you have, or taxes. It could change your tax picture as well. So pay attention to both sides because both sides are going to be important. And other than that, enjoy this full moon in Cancer. It's not going to be a huge big one for you, Gemini, because you're not a water sign, you're not a cardinal sign. So you don't have to worry too much about this full moon. All right, moving on to Cancer. We have the moon in your first house and the sun in your seventh house. So Cancer rising persons, of course, this is going to be a big deal for you. Anytime the moon is stirred up in your chart, which is your ruling planet, if you have Cancer rising, it's a big deal. And since you're so sensitive, you do have to take some care to calm yourself and to provide yourself with a safe place to land anytime you do get a little bit unsure or frightened of things that are going on in your life. Now, the sun in the seventh house shows very clearly that your partner is going to be instrumental in making you feel secure and feel safe. So I would say during this full moon, you're going to be relying on your partner to help you feel safe, but you're also going to be highly tuned in to what's going on around you, what people are saying about you, how people are treating you, because the moon is you. It's your ruling planet, as it were, even though it's a luminary. And so you want to make sure that you can be looking as good as you can so that you don't feel insecure about your looks, dressing appropriately, saying things that are appropriate, just doing everything so that you're not standing out in a bad way. And beyond that, you need your partner to help you just feel safe. Once the full moon has passed, you'll go back to sort of normal feeling. And if that's a feeling of safety, then good. If you just have general anxiety about safety, then you're going to have to, deal with that as well. That's a separate issue. But as far as the full moon goes, Cancer, while the moon is full, you may have a little trepidation about just going out in the world. And I would say rely on your partner for a shoulder to lean on. Leo. So Leo, this puts the moon in your 12th house and the sun in your 6th. So this could affect your health. Usually the moon in the 12th house means that we're going to be experiencing wild and crazy dreams. And if you listen to the first half of this video, you know that dreams and imagination and the subconscious are really going to be on fire during this full moon. So you're going to be having crazy dreams, crazy connections with the divine, crazy connections with your higher self and the subconscious. So don't be surprised if all of a sudden deceased loved ones are talking through you or something. You're going to have an experience probably during this full moon, Leo. Also, with the sun in the 6th house, this is a time where you do want to take a look at your health. You want to make sure that you're doing everything that you can to remain healthy. And, don't shirk on things that you really need to do, like attending to your diet, attending to exercise, and having a good routine in your life to just keep you healthy in general. Now, Leo, this moon, aside from all of the psychic phenomena that might be going on for you, is probably not going to have a lot of deleterious effects. It's probably going to be kind of positive for you. So day after Christmas, not too much else going on for you, probably. I don't think it's going to be a big, huge shenanigan. I think it's going to be kind of, oh, yeah, I had a very vivid, wild dream. And that may lead to something else, but I don't think it's going to be a big showstopper for you because you're a fire sign, you're not a water sign, and you're not a cardinal sign. All right, moving on to Virgo. Virgo, the moon is in your 11th house and the sun is going to be in your 5th house on this full moon. So for you, this is all about the group. So you may be a part of a group. You may have a group that is, maybe you meet monthly or quarterly or even weekly. And in this group, you're going to find that you're feeling just a little bit insecure this month. You're going to be feeling like, maybe you could have done more. Maybe the dish that you brought wasn't something that everybody likes or something. In some way, you're going to have some kind of insecurity about this group. You also could find that things within the group are changing this month on this full moon. Like there could be members that are dropping out, new members coming in, something like that. And with the sun in your 5th house, this could be a lot of fun. This could be really fun for you, and you may be really enjoying all of the changes with this group, even though it makes you feel a little unsure, maybe nervous. So try to be as calm as you can be, Virgo. Try to go with the flow, which normally you're pretty good at that, actually, because you're a mutable sign. And let the changes kind of settle in and assess them before you decide that, you don't like them at all. Give them a chance. And then I think you will enjoy this full moon. Now, this full moon is in a sign where you do have good energy with Cancer, the sign Cancer. It's not a bad sign for you whatsoever. It's only a couple of signs away from you. It's a sextile. So you should enjoy this moon. It shouldn't be difficult, this stuff. It's not like it's going to rattle your cage so bad that you have to quit the group. On the contrary, I think it's going to be something fun that comes about for you. So this is a good moon for you, Virgo. Don't worry about it. All right, Libra. For this puts your moon in the 10th house and the sun in the 4th house. This means that you are going to be a little worried about your career, a little worried about your job prospects. You may have been looking for a job and you may just feel like giving up, like, oh God, nobody's calling me. I'm never going to get a new job. But your sun's in the 4th house. So really, you should be focusing on things that have happened in your home, in your domestic situation. You're probably not buying or selling a home. You're probably trying to fix up an existing home. So what you want to look at there is, do you have the financing for it? Have you got everything, got the workers lined up, things like that. And don't forget, we're also in a Mercury retrograde period during this full moon. So any work that you're having done on your house, you need to be careful that you have already contracted that before December 13th or after the beginning of the year. So I would say maybe wait till the beginning of the year. Now, the moon in the going back to the moon in the 10th house, even though you may be feeling a little wonky about employment and jobs in your career, it's actually a really good time to be in the public eye when the moon is transiting your 10th house. So if you have to go on job interviews, this is a really good thing to do. If you can start the cycle of the job interviews around this full moon, and then actually wait until Mercury goes direct, which will be January 1st, 2024, then you can accept the job after January 1st and start the job sometime in January or February. Don't start it while Mercury's retrograde. That's a nightmare. All right, so moving on to Scorpio. Scorpio, this moon is in your 9th house, which puts the sun in your 3rd house for this full moon. Moon in the 9th house, you have a lot of things changing. Your desires are changing, your goals are changing, your prospects for what you want to do in the future are changing. And you may be feeling like, oh, should I go back to school? Should I take on another trade? Should I switch careers? What should I do? This is kind of shaking things up for you. It's a good moon, though. You have a lot of good energy here. You're a water sign. The sun's in the moon's in a water sign. So this could be really a powerful moment for you to make some changes in your dreams, in your goals, in what you really want to do in life. Now, moon in the 9th house can mean that things are changing. And this, for you, could mean moving to another country, not just moving your house, but moving to another country. So you may be thinking about that, Scorpio. If you're not thinking about moving overseas or to another country, it could be that you're thinking about launching something on the internet, an internet business instead of a brick and mortar business, or something in social media. You may be launching business connections in social media and wondering about that and how to get, just get some advice. There's plenty of advice out there by people who are pretty credible who can help you with that. Or maybe it's starting a YouTube channel or something. So something having to do with either outer space or the internet or the publishing world or the legal world or foreign cultures. Something about those areas is going to be affecting you, and you're going to be feeling it at one time energized about it, and at the other time a little nervous and worried that it's not going to work out. Now, the sun in your 3rd house means you're full of ideas. You're full of lots of new ideas, and you're also putting a focus on people around you in your neighborhood, your neighbors, your siblings, whether they live in your neighborhood or not. If your siblings are at a distance, you'll be communicating with them and talking to them and bouncing ideas off of them. And coming from somebody like, me, I started working again with my sister in my 60s on YouTube. And it's the best thing ever because we have common background. We have a common sense of humor. We love each other. We trust each other. We get along really well. It's the best working with my sister. So I'm really excited about that, Scorpio. So you might think about that. Working with family is not really a bad thing. It can be awesome, actually. All right, and then we're going to go on to Sagittarius. Sag, you're going to have the moon in the 8th house, and I hope you don't mind me calling you Sag. I call all the Sagittarians Sag, but the moon in the 8th house means that things are changing when it comes to joint finances or something having to do with your attitudes about sex or death or taxes, because that's the things that fall in the 8th house. Now, it can also mean studying metaphysical things. When the moon transits your 8th house, you can all of a sudden be sparked with an intense interest in something that has to do with those occult subjects, even death. So don't hesitate to get into that. That could be a money maker. And with the sun in your 2nd house, it usually means that you're getting a bump in pay from your existing job, not necessarily that you're getting a new job. But with this new interest, this could possibly turn into some kind of stream of income or something that you do jointly with your partner. So kind of exciting for you, Sag. I mean, the moon in Cancer for you is not really hitting you straight on. You're not a cardinal sign. You're not a water sign. So this is not detrimental to you in any way, but it is exciting for you. And anything that leads to learning, which the next full moon going to be in your ninth house, so you're going to be learning something. So the interest and the spark might be starting on this full moon, Sag. All right, and moving on to Capricorn. Capricorn, this puts the moon in your seventh house with the sun in the first house, so just the opposite of Cancer. With the moon in your seventh house, you're really going to be thinking about changes in your relationship. Do you need to change things up? Do you guys need to talk about different values, different, goals that you have for whatever the two of you do together in life? And this could be a business partner as well, not just a romantic partner. The sun is in the first house for you, and so the focus for you is your appearance. How do you look? How do you present yourself? How do you put yourself out there in the world? Now, if you're a business person, you really probably think of yourself in terms of the world much differently than if you're just thinking of this for you personally. So I know for me, my look is on YouTube. So I think a lot about the way I look, how I present myself, the clothes that I wear, the makeup, my hair, the lighting in my studio. Is it flattering? Is it not? So Capricorn, for you, with the sun transiting your first house, those are the choices that you have to make. Are there things that you need to do to kind of spruce up your style? Because this would be the time of year to do it. You're coming into your birthday time. So this would be an excellent time for you to kind of, do a little refresh on the hair, the makeup, the glasses, the wardrobe, things like that. The moon in the seventh house means, your partner may be a little bit needy, but also you may be looking at the relationship and thinking, maybe we need to kind of spruce that up as well. This is not the time to spruce that up. Your partner is going to be too needy for you to be able to have those conversations, but you might, in the back of your mind, want to be looking and assessing your relationship and be honest with yourself. Is this serving your needs? Is this really the way you want things to go? Because there could be some little tweaks that you could ask your partner for, maybe after the full moon, that would be perfectly reasonable. They would have no problem with it, and that might really help the relationship improve. So think about that, Capricorn. And now let's go on to Aquarius. Aquarius, this puts the moon in your sixth house and the sun in your 12th house. So you may be looking at certain issues with your health or your everyday routines, your everyday health routines, work routines, just routines in general, or sometimes I put pets in the sixth house as well. When the moon is there, it has to do more with things having to do with the chest area, your stomach, your breasts, and those are the kind of health issues that you might want to be concerned with. So just taking care of yourself and making sure that self-care is your number one priority, Aquarius, because you have a tendency to just not even think about your human body and let your mind go spinning off into space about saving the world. The sun in your 12th house means that you're going to be more connected to your subconscious, more connected with the divine, and also that you're going to be feeling like you need to retreat, you need to rest, you need to recharge your batteries quite a bit. And that goes in line with the moon being in the sixth house. That's also what the moon in the sixth house is telling you to do. So take it down a notch. Allow yourself to have a little kickback, not a vacation, because we spend a lot of energies on vacations, but just a time to retreat, recharge your battery, maybe rethink things a little bit before you have that full moon next month where it's going to emphasize your seventh and first house. Just have a little think about how do you want to progress in 2024 and what this really means for you. And then I think that moon in the sixth house can really work for you as you change up habits and the way you take care of yourself personally. All right, and the last sign is Pisces. Pisces, you've got the moon in the 5th house, sun in the 11th house. So for you, this full moon is going to be awesome. It's another water sign, a lot of energy in the house of fun. So you may find yourself really having fun with your kids or doing something crazy for the holidays with children or with a group that you're a part of, like if you are on a sports team or you're in any kind of sport activity or competitive activity. That kind of group is just a hoot for you, Pisces. It's going to be really, really fun. Plus, the sun is in the 11th house. That's the house for groups, hopes, dreams, and wishes. And so that's putting a spotlight on the groups for you. So you may be a key member of a group. You may be, setting up your 2024 schedule and just having a ball, talking to people and asking what they want to do and getting suggestions. Just interacting with loads and loads of people, Pisces, is what I see happening for you during this full moon and you really enjoying the heck out of it. It's a great full moon for you. You and Scorpio are having a great time with this full moon. Cancer, not quite as much. And the rest of the signs just sort of get the leftovers. So enjoy this full moon, Pisces. I hope you have a wonderful time with it. And that's it. So that is it for the predictions for all of the signs. Thank you so much for watching this. Thank you for being a subscriber. I hope you're a subscriber. If you're not, please subscribe now. And be sure to check out my website so that you can make an appointment for your 2024 astrological forecast. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you next time.